There is a road in Bolivia that is 3 meters wide. On one side, a cliff face dripping with waterfalls and falling rock. On the other side, nothing. Just air and a drop of several hundred meters to the canyon floor below. No guardrails, no barriers, just the edge. For 60 years, this road killed an estimated 200 to 300 people every single year.
Death Road, El Camino de la Muerte, runs through the Yungas region of Bolivia. Also known as the North Yungas Road, it's a 90-kilometer stretch through the Andes Mountains, connecting the cities of La Paz and Coroy.
They called it El Camino de la Muerte, the road of death. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how this road came to exist, who built it, who suffered on it, and why its story is far stranger than any horror movie. At number 10, the geography that made this road necessary. The road begins at La Cumbre, sitting at 4,650 meters above sea level. The air is thin, the landscape is rocky and almost lunar. This is the Altiplano, the high Andean plateau, where the cold bites and the horizon stretches flat in every direction. Then over the course of 64 kilometers, the road drops 3,500 meters, not gradually, steeply, clinging to the face of the eastern Andes as they collapse from the plateau into the Amazon basin. The terrain is called the Yungas, a zone where the mountains fall away so fast that you can stand in freezing cloud and look down at tropical jungle below you within the same hour. This wasn't a road that could be built anywhere else. The mountain dictated every meter. But who would actually carve a road into a cliff face like this? The answer involves a war most people have never heard of. At number 9, the war that created the builders. Bolivia and Paraguay fought the Chaco War over the Gran Chaco region, a flat lowland both countries believed held vast oil reserves. Bolivia was catastrophically defeated. 65,000 soldiers dead, large territories lost to Paraguay. It was a national trauma, and the Paraguayan prisoners of war captured during the conflict were put to work. They carved this road by hand from the cliff face using explosives, picks, and shovels. No machinery, no safety equipment. Thousands of meters in the air. The road was completed in the late 1930s and immediately became a lifeline connecting La Paz to the coca, fruit, and timber of the jungle lowlands. The road was open, but the dying was just beginning. At number 8, the fog that swallowed vehicles whole. Fog rolled in without warning on the Yungas Road, reducing visibility to just a few meters. Drivers couldn't see the edge. They couldn't see oncoming traffic. They couldn't even see the road surface beneath their own wheels. During the wet season, waterfalls poured directly onto the road. The dirt and gravel became a film of mud. Trucks skidded. Buses miscalculated the width by centimeters. And there was nowhere to go but over the edge into hundreds of meters of empty air. You'd think someone would have at least changed the traffic rules. And they did. But the solution tells you everything about how desperate things were. At number 7, the strangest traffic rule in the world. On this road, vehicles drive on the left. The opposite of Bolivia's normal traffic direction. The reason is grimly practical. It allows drivers to see their outer wheels, giving them a better sense of how close they are to the drop. That single rule tells you the entire story of survival on this road. There were no guardrails, no barriers, no mirrors at blind turns, just a rule that said, drive on the wrong side so you can watch your own tires flirt with death. At number 6, the crosses that line the road. Hundreds of them stretch along the entire route. Some are simple wood, some are elaborate metal constructions. Each one marks exactly where a family lost someone, not a general memorial. A specific spot where a vehicle left the road and a life ended. Walking this road on foot means walking past a graveyard told in crosses, one after another, each one a story someone's family will never forget. And one of those crosses marks the single worst disaster this road ever saw. At number 5, the 1983 bus disaster. A bus carrying over 100 passengers went over the edge. Everyone on board died. It remains one of the deadliest single road accidents in Bolivian history. The bus simply slipped off a road that was never wide enough for the vehicles forced to use it. 3 meters. That's the width of a small bedroom. And two-way traffic ran on it daily, including heavy trucks and overcrowded buses. And number 4, the people who had no choice. For the farmers taking produce to market, the families visiting relatives, the workers commuting between La Paz and the northern provinces, the danger was not an adventure. It was the price of living in the wrong part of Bolivia. A price extracted by a government that had not built them an alternative. For 60 years, this was the only road connecting Bolivia's capital city to its northern jungle provinces. Every merchant, every family who needed to travel between La Paz and the Amazon lowlands had to use this road. But something finally changed. And when it did, the transformation was almost overnight. At number 3, the new road that saved lives. In 2006, Bolivia completed a new road. Paved, wider, significantly safer. Traffic on the death road dropped almost immediately. The death toll fell sharply. By any measure, it was a genuine, life-saving achievement. 60 years of petitions, 60 years of crosses, 60 years of funerals. And it took until 2006 for someone to build a second option. You'd think the story ends here. The old road abandoned, left to the fog and the jungle. But what happened next is stranger than anything that came before. At number 2, the tourists who came for fun. With the trucks gone, tour companies moved in. Mountain bikers discovered that 64 kilometers of descent through cloud forest on the most notorious road in the world was an experience people would pay to have. Today, hundreds of tourists fly from Europe and North America specifically to cycle the road that killed generations of Bolivians out of sheer necessity. They pose with the crosses for photographs. The same road that represented poverty, isolation, and government neglect for 60 years became an extreme sports destination. The people who had no choice now share it with the people who chose it for thrills. At number 1, the bigger pattern hiding behind this road. The Yungas Road wasn't the only infrastructure built by prisoners under brutal conditions. In the 1930s, California's Division of Highways initiated projects using prison labor for road construction during the Great Depression. By 1938, California was running an explicit highway construction by prisoners program to keep costs low. Inmates were paid between 25 cents and 50 cents a day. Reports surfaced by 1945 about dangerous working conditions and high death rates. As one civil rights advocate put it in 2021, what we are seeing is a system that not only fails to rehabilitate, but actively endangers the lives of those it claims to help. Even in the early 2000s, nearly 50% of the workforce in California's prisons was involved in various labor programs, including road construction, according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. As of 2023, several states have enacted reforms to address working conditions and pay of prison labor, but California remains a focal point for debate about the ethics of inmate labor. The pattern is always the same. The most dangerous roads, the cheapest infrastructure, the deadliest construction projects, they are built by the people with no power, used by the people with no choice, and eventually turned into attractions for the people with every privilege in the world. The crosses are still there on the Yungas Road. The drops are still there. The fog still rolls in. Empires rise on paper, and sometimes on the roads carved into cliff faces by prisoners that the poor had no choice but to use.